What's up guys, Caleb here with another installment of Reality Check, and today we are talking about the MSI GE75 Raider 9G. It's the 2019 edition of this laptop and it's pretty awesome, so let's talk about it in a little bit more detail. Now I have one word for you with regards to this laptop: overkill. Is that two words? Is it hyphenated? It doesn't really matter. The point is they've gone too far with this thing. It's like too intense, man. So let's discuss. Firstly, let's get the specs out of the way. We're rocking an i7-9750H, which is a dank-ass 9th gen CPU. That's coupled with an RTX 2080, which is just ridiculous. And then we're also rocking 32 gigs of RAM, a terabyte SSD, and a terabyte HDD. So spec to the nines, fam. It's a bit intense. As I said, it is complete overkill. There's pretty much nothing that you can throw at this laptop and it wouldn't be able to handle. But those powerful components do have one or two drawbacks, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Let's just get some of the other stuff out the way. The aesthetics on the Raider are a lot more minimal than some of the other models on their lineup. So it's got just a simple one color matte black finish with some slight red accents on the lid and around the trackpad. But other than that, it's not very loud at all. There are some angular slopes on the inner deck, but I do like these. They add a little bit of dimension to the design, which I think is quite nice. The build quality is something you don't have to worry about with this laptop. It's got a fully metallic lid and chassis, which is always nice on a laptop. And the bottom half is made out of plastic, but that doesn't really make it feel cheap, and I think it looks quite nice. The screen hinges are also attached really firmly, and there's virtually no flex above the keyboard area, so it's quite a rugged, sturdy laptop. The port selection covers all the bases you might need it to. The left side has your trusty separated headphones and microphone jack, accompanied by a USB Type-C port, a USB 3.1 Type-A port, an HDMI, a mini display port, and an Ethernet port. On the right, we have two USB 3.1 Type-A ports and a full-sized SD card reader. One thing I do want to mention here is that the USB ports are backlit with a red LED, which is really nice if you're trying to find the USB ports in the dark, but some might think it's unnecessary. I personally think it's quite cool. They've also included two dedicated hardware buttons on the top right of the laptop. One of them is to cycle through your RGB profiles. Another one is to crank your fan's RPM all the way to the max for a quick cool boost, and I just really like those features on the MSI laptops. The keyboard is another typical thing of MSI beauty. It's a fully fledged, well laid out keyboard with great spacing and some stunning RGB. The typing experience is also really nice. It's got a great travel, and I honestly don't really have a bad thing to say about it. The trackpad is really nice on the GE75 Raider. I think when you start moving up in price brackets, you expect certain components to kind of follow suit, and they don't disappoint with the trackpad. It's really smooth. It's got a nice metallic surface. It feels quite responsive. I'm happy with the overall size, and the dedicated clickers don't have too much tension. They feel quite premium, so pretty decent trackpad. MSI screens are always a thing of beauty, and the GE75 Raider is no exception. It's 144Hz refresh rate, 1080p display panel. It comes in at a peak brightness of 300 nits and covers 95% of the sRGB spectrum. So it's a vibrant, colorful, nicely saturated display, and with 144Hz refresh rate, there pretty much is no better way to game on the laptop. It's dank. Now, with regards to gaming performance, an RTX 2080 and an i7 9th gen are pretty much the most banging components that you can get. So it's going to give you about the best performance you can get from a gaming laptop. Rainbow Six Siege is a good example of how well-optimized games run on really high-performance hardware. All the way maxed out ultra settings, you're easily getting upwards of 120 frames per second consistently. It very rarely would drop below that. And it's often sitting at about 130 to 140, so you're really taking advantage of that 144Hz refresh rate screen with a game like Rainbow Six. The Witcher 3 still stands tall as one of the most intensive games that you can use to test your laptop, and it's really impressive what this RTX is able to do with a game like The Witcher 3. So pretty much everything on Ultra, NVIDIA Hairworks maxed out. We're getting well above 70 frames, 80 frames, sometimes peaking at 100 in certain areas. Inside Novigrad, we're looking at about 70 frames per second. But that's still really, really good considering just how taxing that game is. Going up against a more modern game like Apex Legends, which is still really taxing, the GE Raider still did really freaking well, man. So when you're dropping out of the ship, it's already sitting at 100 frames on ultra settings. And the second you hit the ground, you're going well above 120. So it can handle Apex, no problem. Battlefield 5 is probably the most taxing game on the list, and we did an RTX on, RTX off kind of test. So everything maxed out on Ultra with RTX off, we're getting easily above 70 to 80 frames on ultra settings. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy for a freaking laptop. And then the second you turn RTX on, though, you're gonna dip still well above 60. So like we wouldn't really see any dips below 60 at any point, but it's gonna give you a hit of about 20 frames. So really impressive. A new game which has just been released called Control, which has kind of been certified by the community at large as the new system killer, has been kind of throwing punches left and right at the system, but it's still done really well. So the Raider manages to, with RTX off on this game, give easily about 60 to 70 to 80 frames. It's quite inconsistent because it's very taxing. But now this is one of the most heavily RTX-ified, I'm going to use that term, games that you can get. So with RTX on, you're going to see a massive hit. It's going to take you down to between 40 and 50 frames per second. So hella taxing, but still doing really, really well. In terms of editing performance, render times are amazing. I mean, RTX 2080, i7-9750H, editing inside Premiere Pro is an absolute dream. Playing back 4K footage at full quality whilst you can grade and it's playing, like, I mean, yes, man, just yes. Now, it's great in all that we have these incredibly awesome components that give you this insane performance, but what good does that do if it ends up bouncing your laptop in the process? As we saw with another MSI laptop that we've previously reviewed that also had an i7-9750H in it, those things get insanely hot, bro. Like, I'm talking upwards of 85 degrees after a 3-minute full load, and that's dangerous temperatures for your CPU to be sitting at. Like, that's seriously hot. You can even feel it if you put it on the chassis above the keyboard and just the top. Like, it actually hurts. The battery life is exactly what you can expect from a laptop with an RTX 2080 in it, people. Like, let's just be rational about this. For general usage, you're gonna get around 3 to 3.5 hours. Idle's gonna put you at 5. But I don't think it's fair to say that that makes it a bad battery. I think considering the components that it's trying to power, anything that sits at like 3 to 4 hours is impressive. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say about this laptop. It's pretty dank, there's no doubt about it. Those components are undeniably awesome and they give you great performance. But the issue I have with it is the price tag, because this puppy with our specs comes in at 49,000 Rand. If you want the base spec, which is a 512 gig SSD and 16 gigs of RAM, you're gonna be looking at 44,000 Rand. And that's like, I mean, who's it for, really? Like, you're just flexing, bro. You're just flexing, MSI. Why are you flexing? Why are you flexing? Anyways, guys, that pretty much wraps it up with this installment of Reality Check. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this bad boy right here. Don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you like this content. And I'll catch you guys next time for another installment of Reality Check. Peace.